are back. I'm your host, Barry Waxler, here with the always lovely and talented Andrea Kay, the always incredible Urban Miaris, and we've had a lot of great guests and a lot of fun on this show, and we're not done yet. So I want to jump right in, and let's talk urban. Let's build another podcast under Urban Talks, because you provide so much great information. Let's talk about, you consult with a lot of disabled vets, okay? And you consult both for employment as well as self-employment, okay?
Yeah, mostly self-employment.
Mostly self-employment. Mm-hmm. If I'm a disabled vet and I want to find a business, how do I find the right kind of business? What am I looking at?
Well, probably the biggest issue I find, or why most people don't make it in business, is they go into the wrong business. They have this preconceived notion of what they'd like to do, or they go into a business based on their background or experience, and that may not be the right disability for them based on their disability. As an example, someone that has multiple sclerosis. You want to get in a business that doesn't have these deadlines or high stress factors involved, because you could trigger MS coming on again. Or someone that has diabetes and all that. The secret of getting into a business, especially when you have a disability, is to make sure that your health is under control or being managed. Too many people will go into a business because they can't find employment because they're too sick or ill. Well, get your health stable. The secret of a healthy business is a healthy business owner. And being disabled and being sick are two entirely different things.
Yeah, that brings up the point. When you're in business for yourself, there's always added stress loads because you're taking on multiple hats. So that's a topic for another day. How do you deal with the stress load of being in business for yourself? But I think the first thing, to deal with that kind of stress load is choosing the right business. So how do we really gear in towards that type of decision? Is it following our heart, what we love to do, or what do you recommend?
Well, the thing is to get into a business that is the easiest way for you to get into, the least amount of money, the least amount of effort. And that starts with a self-evaluation first of your resources and assets. Do you have money? Don't you have money? Who do you know that may have money or the expertise you need in the business? Many veterans with disabilities would like to say, open a restaurant, yet they can't even get a job at a restaurant because of their disability. Right. Maybe they're in a wheelchair, maybe they're blind, or have some other medical challenge ahead of them. So how do you get into the food service business as an example? And that is, again, you look for your resource. Just because you know how to cook doesn't mean you can be a great business owner. I love to talk about Millie up in Oregon, who was a great baker and cooker, but she woke up at the crack of noon every day. It doesn't work. If you're not ready to get up at 3 in the morning to be in the bakery business. So she didn't open up a breakfast place, right? Yeah, don't go in there. She wound up getting in the bakery business, but what she does is modified it. So what she does is bake and sells her goods to caterers. Mm-hmm. So the hours are not there. So there's always a way of modifying and understanding it. I've been in 23 different businesses, and it's the knack of it is so different. Once you understand the basics of business, then your product or service doesn't matter. Because generally you will find others that will do the actual work or hands-on. Like I've always said, you either you're working for the business, you're working in the business, or you're working on the business. And generally when you start, like Gary talked in our previous interview, when you start out, you're working for the business. Right. You're not making any money. Anything that you generate is going back into the business. And then you work in the business is when you start to be able to get a salary. And then when you work on the business, in other words, you're having others do the actual physical and hands-on work. That's when your business will grow. So you've got to understand these phases, understand yourself and your medical conditions, and who's going to be in the business with you. And the type of business really will depend on your assets and resources and your commitment to the business.
Right. Well, that brings me to the point, how you're such a valuable resource for people. How do people get in touch with you if they're, let's say they want to get into business for themselves, they have some great ideas, but they need to have a resource. I know there are companies out there like SCORE and some others, but, a lot of people come to you, especially if they're disabled vets. How do they get in touch with you?
Well, the easiest way is through email, and that would be urban, URBAN, @ disabledbusiness.com. And it's You know, like I tell all the time, I probably talk people more out of going into business than in business.
Right.
It's not that you couldn't be in business. The timing just may not be right for you right now.
Right. And as a disabled vet, as a owner of 23 businesses, you have a resource for people that, and you do this all through your nonprofit. Am I correct?
Well, I do through the nonprofit, and that's how this whole nonprofit started. Was my frustration in the 1960s when no one wanted to help disabled vets in business or anybody with a disability in business. I said, one of these days, when I could prove how it could be done, I'd help others, and that's why I do what I do now.
Great. Well, I appreciate it, Urban.